Hey everyone, it's Dr. Scott here with Healthy You. So guys, I am so excited here. I have an amazing story to tell you about today. So we have this little dude, his name is Lincoln, and Lincoln has been a patient in our office here for some speech delays now for about a year. And so got to tell you this is one of the coolest stories, because one of our goals with what we work with is to help every child to reach maximum functional capacity, right? Like, we want their brain to connect, be healthy, be doing all the things that it should. Because what happens is whenever a child is struggling to have issues, whether it's speech delays or ADHD or sensory processing issues, whatever it might be, we want, by the time that we finish with our part of the restoration phase of care, that's what we call it, restoration phase, we want that child to have reached a point where their brain's staying fully connected, maximum levels of healing, best function that they've had, because what we're doing is beginning a process of allowing the brain to connect and to heal, right? I don't mean to oversimplify, but I'm kind of going to, right? Like, the brain is amazingly complex. What I have is a relatively simple window. It just requires complex assessment to get there, right? The adjustment is a really cool process, because when you know what needs to be done and about how long it takes to get there, right? And again, I say the about, and I mean it that way, right? Because every person's an individual, and we all heal at different paces. So when we look at a care plan, right, we're putting a best guess based upon taking information through assessment, right? We use this thing called an insight that gives us 3 really awesome windows into how maladaptive a nervous system is, right? If the autonomic nervous system, which tells the brain about how to interlink and connect and talk to the 2 hemispheres so we can have normal development of personality in speech and social regulation and immune function, all those cool things. So what would happen with Lincoln is his speech centers weren't developing normally. And so his mom approached us about this, and we said, well, let's assess. And we found that he had a lot of issues with his autonomic nervous system being regulated the way that it should. And so we got Lincoln into a care plan, and he was in a care plan, I think it was like 3 times a week for 3 or 4 months. And then we started slowly working him down on care. And I tell you this because I like moms and dads to have an idea of what this kind of a process looks like, right? Because you come in, and oftentimes people are like, well, how long is this going to take? And well, what does this look like? So he was in a care plan where I think it was like 36 or 48 visits, 3 times a week. And so then we slowly worked him down. We went 2 times a week for 12 visits, I think, and then we started weaning him down to weekly. And so kind of step forward to where we are now, and mom comes in and says that her little dude just got released from his IEP. Meaning, in a year, right, speech delays to no IEP in a year span, and he had some pretty significant speech delays. But here's the cool part about it. It wasn't just that he got released from his IEP, it's that he got released from his IEP, not even a 5-year-old speaking at a 7-year-old level. Right? Pretty damn cool, pardon my language. But you hear stuff like that, and it shows to me, right, that the brain is way cooler and way more powerful than most of us give it credit for, right? One of the biggest things that I think that a lot of us as adults, right, we get into this place where we just kind of assume that who we are, how we are, the stuff we live with, the stuff that we struggle with, the stuff that our kids are struggling with, it's just the way that it is. In the vast majority of cases, so not true. In the vast majority of cases, right, unless there's like a congenital issue or something terminal, there's a lot of things that can be done to improve a person's functional level. I mean, this dude went from having something where there was a really big speech delay to having none in a year of care, right? That shows the power of his brain to reconnect. Now, do they do therapy? Well, yeah, of course they did, right? But with therapy wasn't progressing because his brain wasn't connecting before, right? And he starts care, and all of a sudden, boom, care goes through the roof, right? Because his brain, when we do the adjustments, it literally pushes the on button to the 2 hemispheres of the brain to resync, right? I've talked about this before, but there's a study that I reference all the time, and I love it because this researcher out of New Zealand, her name's Heidi Havik. She's a chiropractor, but she's also got a PhD in neuroscience, and she's just doing this really cool cutting edge research where she's is she's doing research into the way the brain changes when you get adjusted. So what she had done is she did a study that showed the way that the adjustment is affecting a brain on this thing called an EEG. And so for those of you who don't know what an EEG is, the job of an EEG is to measure electrical activity in a brain after a stimulus. So they can see what parts of a brain light up when something is done to an individual. So what they did is they had a group of people that had EEGs on, and they adjusted them. And they showed pre-adjustment activation levels and post-adjustment activation levels. And so what happened is that each time an adjustment was performed on a person in the study, there was a 20% increase in the overall activation levels of the prefrontal cortex. Now, for those of you who aren't neuroscientists, who don't know what the prefrontal cortex is, it's executive function. It's two hemispheres that talk that create our personality. It is all executive function. It's the regulation of our autonomic nervous system, and that is our rest and digest, growth, development, and healing, and it's our fight or flight systems. It's what regulates our immune system. It's all the things that really are kind of the higher level controls for us as individuals that help us to function in this world, adapt to this world, know social norms, develop normal speech, motivation, all of the basics that make us people are residing in this part of the brain, and it sorts and operates and decides what to do with each stimulus. Well, when a brain isn't developing normal speech, it's because one part of the brain, right, left hemisphere, right hemisphere, they're not talking to one another the way they should. And so in this little dude, when we started doing the adjustments, all of a sudden his brain went bzzz, turned into the on position, and it started to heal and reconnect. And the cool thing about younger kids and why they have such really significant and fast-paced and profound impacts is because their little brains are growing at a pace that we can't imagine. Like they make on the order of hundreds of billions of neurological connections every single day. I mean, moms and dads, I wish that we did, right? Like we make billions of neurological connections each day. They make hundreds of billions. Like that's orders of magnitude greater than most of us could ever comprehend, but it's happening at a pace that's just lightning speed, right? And so when these things are happening, it allows their little brains to write pathways quickly that allow them to reconnect, heal, and develop the way they were supposed to. So what he did is he regressed, right? Brain went back into healing mode, and then he reconnected. But what the cool part about it was, he didn't just reconnect, he reconnected and he surpassed where he was before. Pretty darn cool. This is Dr. Scott, guys. Do me a favor, if this is valuable, what I want you to do is I want you to, number one, like our channel. Number two, subscribe. Number three, tell us what we can do to help you. Give us a comment. Make sure that you're sharing this information with others, because the whole goal of everything that we do is to give you guys resources to know that there's additional options and there's hope. Because if your kid, your family is struggling and you're looking for hope, you gotta know what's out there. Our job here is to tell the story, okay? God bless you guys. Like the page, subscribe, share it, be elite.